just going to be recording a bunch of the different work that we're doing on this project for Alyria, as we're calling it right now. So at this point in the process, I am currently doing a lot of concept work. So basically I use Cursor. I already use this for other things as well in my development process. But just a light overview, Cursor is an IDE that has AI integrated and many models, as you can see here. The default is usually Composer because that's Cursor's proprietary model, their latest agentic coding model especially. You have different options and stuff. You can do a lot of different things. You got agent plan, debug, and ask mode. Obviously that all seems pretty self-explanatory. Agent literally will allow me to send AI agents to do actual work with data. They can manipulate data, they can change data, everything. Markdown files, actual coding, folder structures, repository structure, all kinds of stuff. It can also interact with other software through API integration. So it's very powerful, very awesome. One of the things I've used it for here was to basically develop our workflow. Workflow, pipeline, additional informational documents for people coming in. So if we have artists who aren't as familiar with a game asset or game development workflow or pipeline, I've created a lot of documentation with the AI and uploaded it to our Discord and such so that we have that information available. And sometimes it's just good to have a little reminder here and there of like how to do something, or not even that, but sometimes like, especially having our art direction file, which, indicates our low and high end of poly counts or triangle counts, our texture resolutions for, specific assets in the game, like player character, 8 to 12K. And actually, I'm going to change this to 25 because I wanted a bit more on the character. So we're going to do a minimum of 15,000 to 25,000. I may even still keep a 2K texture on there. I feel like that can still hold the detail pretty well. But yeah, so obviously, and okay, so I just want to explain this a little bit. A lot of the reason why I've gone heavy AI, well, there's two reasons. One, AI is the move. It's the way. The future is being painted and paved by AI at this point. And the more we know about it, the more we know how to use it and integrate it into our workflows, the more optimized and the more efficient we overall as artists, whether it be creative or technical, and even programmers, and really anybody in their everyday life can use AI to highly optimize really anything. And then the second reason is because in this project, this is a startup project and we don't have an extreme degree of artists. Where we don't have an artist, we use AI to make up. So I'll go more into that now. I've been given a lot of back end here just because I haven't really done any videos on any of this. And a lot of this I've already done work-wise. We actually just got some donations from some of the people that have been involved in this process, and we're extremely grateful for that. And also the main supporter of this project and basically the studio who is funding this entire project, Iron Pillar Studios, have been making sure that their artists have what they need to produce the assets and the artwork and the end results that we're trying to aim towards. So it's been really helpful, and I'm just really appreciative of all that. So we have art direction, which just tells us this is what we're doing. These are our caps, these are our poly counts, resolution caps for textures. So here we're not going to go above a 2K on the main character or on any sort of player character model. And on NPCs, still 2K, but depending on where the NPC is at, they are going to be lowered down a bit on detail, I'd say, because they're not hero characters. So we'll probably go somewhere more in the range of 12K to 18. Just in case, give us a little range there, because there may be some characters that are highly important, like a questing character, something like that, where you will see much more of this character, and there may even be some instances where we have some light cinematics or something like that. And obviously we couldn't have the NPCs too low in triangle count, or else the detail was not going to line up. This would look great, the main character, but then the other characters are going to look a little out of sorts. So it's just really about blending these numbers and such to create the right finished project. So you got other things like familiars. I've actually already made this familiar here, and we have a mock-up texture on them for right now. Obviously we'll change that later on, and it's based on this, 1K, 2K textures, 2 to 4,000 triangles. I think Barry's 2,500 total for his LOD0. And that's another thing too. So with all this information is here and obviously available for the artist, which is great. This allows us to have a framework for what we're going to do, and so that we know what the rules are, so we don't go too far in this direction or that direction or whatever. I mean, obviously we want to complete this game, so we can't have too much ambiguity. So yeah, and I mean, this is pretty in depth, you know, as the naming conventions, everything. Now, obviously, these are already pretty standard in Unreal, but for people, like I said, who don't know game asset pipelines and such, you know, this would be great for them. They can go through this and say, oh, okay, this is why they're naming this like this. You know, we have a structure here. You know, we're trying to keep things organized. You know, we don't want to have to spend a lot of time looking through files with all kinds of different names or naming conventions, and then we're confused on what's what, and we're spending all this additional time. So doing things like this optimizes the workflow. This is super important. This is all really great. It helps us to keep moving forward, but in a structured way. And then, like I said, I have some informational stuff too. So, you know, one of the things about my skill sets is that I'm not an Unreal specialist. I'm learning Unreal just like other people are. And I'm learning it real time while I'm implementing things. The development pipeline. Right, this document's outlining the complete development pipeline for which we will... Alright, so I'm going to show you a really cool concept here. One of the cool usages that people may overlook when it comes to AI. I'm going to use my agent. I'll use the composer. This really isn't that much data in these markdown files. I mean, it's some thousands of lines all combined, because a few of these are pretty heavy. I think the Comfy workflow was, please navigate to the reference. And this, so there's a lot of methods in here that are really cool. So I can just do copy path. Please navigate to the, and actually I'll do relative since we're already in here. Reference project map. Directory, go through each individual markdown file and replace game name Elementum with Alyria for every instance found. And so I send him. And now this agent is going to go through and do just this. And this is a very simple task for this kind of agent. Oh, here we go. Cursor settings. And I can turn off that one. I'm not using Mongo. And I don't need Chrome DevTools. This is my own personal MCP for Paradigm Studios. I'm not going to go too in-depth into this because it's not super relevant, although it is relevant in the development process. As you can see here, there's different tools on this MCP. KB Search, search the Paradigm Studios knowledge base for people, project skills, software assessments, or documentation. So basically, in my company and in my company's MCP here, we have a knowledge base for people skills, software, projects, assessments, documentation, yada yada. And I'm able to search that and use that information real time to influence the responses I get, the information that I get, and also breakdowns that I get. So let's say that I want to take on a certain task and I'm prompting my AI to do that. I can also tell it to please review the Paradigm Studios knowledge base for Jay Arnold's skill set and evaluate them against this project to give me the most optimized and efficient workflow in full consideration of my skills. This is a way to get my AI to attach to my learning style and attach to where I'm at in my skill sets. So what level I'm at, it's going to teach me at that level so that it doesn't give me a bunch of information that I don't completely understand, or a lot of times AI will like to infer things. So it'll infer all these different things about how to do something, but all that inference, I don't know the base knowledge to attach to the inference that the AI has given me. So then I'm confused. So this is a way to basically help with the AI basically presenting me with better, more accurate, more focused information. And it also is a knowledge base for other reasons too. So anytime that we need to know any of the skill sets of any of the members in the company, it's already accounted for. And then the system is built to level the person. So as the person increases their skill set, at a certain point, there will be a way to post in new skills, whatever else. But regardless, it's an optimized way of getting better prompting and better responses and interaction with my AI. At least that's what I'm using it for. Obviously, there's lots of concepts and implementations and methodologies, theories, whatever, when it comes to MCP servers and what you can accomplish with them. To be honest with you, the main reason I got this was to be able to deploy my web server through the VPS connection without getting a SHA key password prompt. So this basically does it automatically. I can deploy a new build to my website without having to jump through a bunch of hoops. It automates that process. So that was a big reason I did this as well. Back to, now obviously it came up with what we could do in certain amounts of time to create a alpha release in 6 months is I believe what I came up with there. Well, it looks more like 9 here, 48 weeks. The reason I did all this once again is just to framework out something for us so that we can work in a structured and an organized environment. We also have game lore here. What we're doing now is we're going to revise the story. You know, we kind of have this idea about a style of game. We're going to be rewriting this story now, so a lot of this doesn't completely fall into place anymore, which is fine. So then we have an LOD workflow. This is specifically for the 3D artists, and it has a lot of information about how to actually go through and set up and work through an LOD workflow and pipeline for game asset design. Based on this project though, so based on our LOD requirements. Yeah, so we also have some comfy stuff because this is what I'm concepting in and that's what I'm about to get into. Just kind of going over the rest of these. So prop workflow is for 3D artists like junior artists and stuff who don't know how to completely work through or might need a reminder of some of the steps, how to organize your outliner and UE project. The point is that we have this information here to allow people free access so that we can have members in our group that are maybe not fully fledged artists or they haven't worked with the studio before or they haven't fully worked in a game asset pipeline, whatever else. We want people to be able to join our project and take part in it, but have the information necessary to help aid them along the way to be the best version of themselves that they can be. We're very team oriented here and very, very big on building each other up. Project organization guide. So this is just organization like repository organization or folder structure organization, directory organization. Let me rerun that now that the MCP tools are straight. And you can see right here it's doing it live. Maintain Alyria art style instead of Elementum. It will do, and it's done. So I'm going to keep all changes. It changed 39 lines. We're good to go. Now the project is updated. This is another reason why I have all these files in here under a cursor overview, because I can edit everything all at one time. I can pop in and out, and it's all text prompt too, so I can talk to it directly. Now, granted, the way you text prompt is important. There's no reason to get into that right now. We got Comfy up here, and right now, I'm actually going to save and restart the back end real quick. So what I'm doing here is I'm generating base concept content. So I have a node graph. We have a BMW M3 G chassis here. Beautiful car. Then we have a BMW M3 F chassis here, probably a 2016-17 model. Beautiful car. Love this one much more than the G chassis. Forgive me, I'm a BMW fanatic, and I drive a 3 Series. But anyway, so this is actually a negative image. The reason I put this negative image is because it's super clean and realistic, and it's the complete and total opposite of what type of style I'm trying to inject in here. This is a style transfer node in a sense. It's an IP adapter, but it transfers style from an image, as you can see here, this image here, which is our base comparative art style reference, which is Arcane. I'm fascinated with their art style. I love the painterly, I love the papery kind of feel at times, but then the injection of depth and versions of realism that are drowned through this painted brushstroke kind of edgy, you know, almost melting in a sense, but still holding its structures type of art style. I love it. I love how what you can see up close, which is this will be implemented into the game. I hope to implement this, is what you can see up close is very detailed, where as you get behind the object, you start to see these rough shapes and forms, which almost look like concept. So it's like you're seeing a more refined concept here, but this is your final, right? Or something similar. But then behind it, you see from 100% detail all the way back to like 10% detail versioning of concept. It's, I don't know, it's just beautiful to me. We have this node setup is to create the base concept artwork. So it's prompt based. We have a negative prompt here, as you can see. And this negative basically says, I do not want background, I do not want scenery, I do not want landscape, yada, yada, yada. I do not want any of this stuff here. And then we have a positive prompt up here, which says, I want it isolated on white background. That's the first prompt there. And that's to really try to eliminate anything from the background. AI is noisy, and it loves to create. And unless you constrain the way that it creates, especially with your prompts, it will create other things. And I think I can give you some example of that. Actually, yes, I have a good example. And you will see here in our ground foliage and our grass or small plants library here we have that, for instance, this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. It gave me this object here, which is pretty cool looking, but it's drowning the object in the background, especially color-wise here. So while we have a silhouette defined, I would need to take this out or remove the background somehow. But because the background is so similar, it's much more difficult to do for the AI. The idea is to try to prompt in the beginning to get less and less of what's behind this and to refine and form the silhouette as much as possible. And mind you, the silhouette is this. You see this dark edge on the bottom going all the way around, all these little spikes here and all this stuff all the way around. Every single specific edge of this shape here, we have this plant through and through that you can see is the silhouette from any angle. And we want to preserve that in order to get the proper concept imagery and then to re-inject. So one of the methods I use to further get the style is to basically re-inject this style in again to a version of this image after the fact. So we are able to prompt out and start to kind of remove some of the additional noise that AI is going to try to give us from the beginning. So we get rid of that, and then we have a single moss-covered boulder, fantasy magical forest style, weathered stone, organic deformation, painterly texture, no environment, product shot, studio lighting. So we're trying to keep it simple and to the point here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and run this so we can see what we get. Pull it up here, press play. Okay, it already has these images. So if we go over to assets, so what I'm going to do instead is just show you the folder because we're already in there. So this is what it created for me. Here is a boulder. This is what it thinks a boulder is. And I mean, it's not wrong. This is a boulder. And it's in the painterly art style. It has some mossy colors, which is cool. You know, it starts to give the representation, the idea of moss there, because in our art style, things like that might lose some form, you know, because the painterly art style is kind of a decimation art style, I would say. If I had to put some sort of words to it, it bleeds this painterly effect through any regular style, and then it kind of pulls some of the refined sharpness out of it in a sense. So if that's the case, then this does kind of give us a mossy feel here. But the most important thing is that it gave me this image with absolutely no background. And the reason for that is we took it even a step further here in this subgraph. We did the remove background. This I just found out about yesterday, which is fantastic. And it comes after the K-sampler and all that. This is the heaviest thing in here. This is where all the AI generation happens. All of the pre-generation prompting and information and control nets and such are before it. And they take a little time. But this mother right here, this K-sampler, is the heaviest node we have in this group. But we're able to send out the latent, create an image, and then remove the background from that image using the RMBG utility that you can get from the Custom Node Manager section. But you do have to install Custom Node Manager if you don't already have it. So, all right. And then additionally, there is a node that you can prompt into here, or that you can plug into here that comes with the RMBG suite. And it allows me to preset set colors. Light gray works for me. And actually, this is just an option because if I turn off alpha and put color, it will give me a gray background. But for right now, alpha actually works better. I would rather not have anything so that I can just take the image and plug it in onto a artboard to be then turned into a 3D model for reference, which will then be created as a reference image, a concept board to then be modeled after the fact. So that's the reason that we're doing all this too, is to create concept imagery, obviously to show that we have our own style and idea and everything behind this, but then to fuel our modelers and artists so that they can create this content for the actual game. We're just going to keep iterating here. I'm going to add large single moss colored and then run it again. And this time you can see this is showing you right here it running through all of those nodes in there, but majorly this is K-sampler because the only thing I changed was one prompt word. So all the other like control nets and stuff will all stay the same. So it's done. We obviously cannot see the image in this. Normally we would be able to, but I'd need to restart the software. It doesn't like that I have these in that other folder. Concept images, Fey Forest, ground geology. And now we have some new rocks here. We're creating 6 at a time, so 7 through 12 will be our new ones. And we'll cycle through. So these are okay. And, you know, I do want to have a few boulders kind of or whatever else. So it'd be nice to have. See, like, the only thing I don't like is that it's still giving me these additional rocks here and such. So what I'm going to do is go back into here, type, and instead of single, I'm going to type an individual. And see, this is another thing. I've got it set to 25 steps and a 512 width and height. So, and a 6 batch size. The reason I'm doing this is to quickly iterate. Right now, I don't need a perfect finished image. And to be honest with you, trying to get it through just this would be very difficult. So what I do is I iterate out very quickly. These are getting to be a little bit better. I'm still getting some multiples and such. But something cool that I can do here with this, now that I just thought about it, is like, let's say, okay, I'm going to take one of these images and I'll show you. So another part of the process is to use, I have multiple node setups here. Style transfer. So this is my style transfer node. I was using this for the character. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to load that image. I'm going to load this one. This is interesting, right? So this is what it's, I'm going to run this image through Canny and then depth any, and then I'm going to create this, which is a depth map, mind you. And it is based on 512. Yes, yes, yes. Great. So then I'm going to, you see, this is what we already had prompted here for that other character. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to save this prompt because I'm not completely done with that character and I may want to see the iteration of that again. So I'll go back into cursor here and I'm going to create a markdown file real quick. Alright, so we got a markdown file and then I'm just going to post that in there real quick. So then we will come back to Comfy. We will delete those prompts. Get out of the assets real quick. We will then, I want to try something. I'm going to use this exact same prompt again. I don't even understand how those get put in. Positive. And I'm just naming inputs here. And inputs are just this. They just allow me to, as you can see, I actually have the prompts here. Positive, negative, and then these other two. But I want to get rid of the other two real quick, but I am going to save them. Small bush shrub. Actually, alright, if we go back, there we go, I saved it, they're gone. There's still another one in here. Oh, no, get rid of that. Where's the other text entry at? Okay, either way. That one's covered, and then let me go back to the negative on the other, and we'll just put the negative in there, run it real quick. I don't remember what I had it set up to. Strong style transfer 35. Alright, so just a quick little thing, the config here. It's going to tell you right here, but the classifier free guidance scale balances creativity and adherence to the prompt. Higher values result in images more closely matching the prompt. However, too high values will negatively impact quality. So the reverse is true too. Lower will allow the model to be more creative with what it creates for you. And in this instance, I want it to force this style in, but I want it to be more creative with how it fills in this control net that I showed you, which is this depth image, this height image. So I go back out here, it should show up here. I do need to get a duplicate of this node. Right, so now we can see that it went ham and cheese. But the only problem is it had a little too much freedom and too much style transfer. So let's see here. Let's go back and let's do style transfer. And let's do like 0.75. We're going to get rid of the isolated on white background because we're actually going to go ahead and remove the image again. Remove background image. And plug that into there. Just keep that the way it is because I like the alpha. Let's fast forward color estimation to optimize transparent background. We're going to do this 5.5 to adhere to the prompt a bit more. We're going to 100% denoise and then our one denoise and then the empty latent here is the problem. I'm going to do 512 since my image is still 512. I'm doing this as an example. Normally my final would be a 1K image. Alright, let me save this, go back out, and then I'm going to run it again. I am going to go check on that folder real quick. It didn't actually save them. That's cool. This is another thing that's nice is it's going to create these on your app data local folder. So you're just previewing these images. You could still have them because they are on your PC somewhere. So you could just hit download and actually get these images. So this is like a preview, right? It's nice. Or you can run it straight. If you know you're already kind of creating what you want, you can run it straight into an image save node. And so you see now though, now that it's still running. It's running the remove background, it seems like. Probably doesn't know how. It might be blending the background in too much. Now we're cooking with some grease here. Now the only thing is you remember how I did full denoise on this? So because I did full denoise, it's starting to make the object look a bit more realistic than I really want. So I may change that. I feel like it was saying, I remember an AI response showing me that you could put asterisks around a specific portion of your prompt potentially to make it more, to make it weighed in a bit more, or to give it more weight overall. So you see, it's doing that first thing, which means it went through the K-sampler, and then it's got to remove the background. That's what that second step of taking some time is. The remove background node, and I'm willing to bet that the remove background node has a K-sampler inside of it, but because I think that this was like it's a release node, there's a subgraph probably inside of here, but you can finalize a subgraph for release. So I'm pretty sure that he's got a K-sampler in there he's running. Alright, it says it finished. Let's see here. You know, it's not terrible. If I were to run this 1K, I might get better results. But this is just to show how you can inject a style in. I'm going to do some more iteration here because I know I can get a better version of this. I'm going to do 6. And instead of using Euler, I'm going to try the DPM2M STE GPU and see, because I've used this a couple of times. I kind of like its results. I'm going to do 1 for the style transfer, and then really it would be nice to upscale this image. Upscale. It's already 512, so I could do it if I did it by 1. No, scale by 1, which would be the same. Scale by 2 because it's a multiplication. Scaling is multiplying. I'm going to just use this one. 124, 124. We don't want it to crop, or do we want it? No, we don't want it to crop. And let me see what we get here. Now, another thing I want to change on this is maybe this value, 0.3, because there's nothing under here to create any more depth. It's just creating what it's sitting on based on the shadow underneath. So I wonder if I can tweak it a little to get it to pull that in some, because I don't. Yeah, there we go. All right, so we've that top one is. Alright, let's see, maybe we can go down like 0.05. Maybe that will give us a little, maybe it'll make this brighter, hopefully not. Oh, I know what to do, hold on. 0.25, we'll tighten it up in the other direction. Yeah, okay, cool. So, and this is cool, right, because I can take this image, I can upscale it to 1K, but then I can use Canny to kind of change up some of the way that the depth map is gathering its information and blend it together a little bit better. And this does work a bit better. It is blending some more of that, so I mean I could even probably go 0.29 or something maybe, I don't know. 0.24? Yeah, so actually I want to do like 0.25 and then I'm going to do 0.33. See what we get off that. Okay, it's putting a little more emphasis on this, which is nice, but let me try 0.2. Bring down the other some. Okay, yeah, I could work with that. The only thing I wonder is, can I remove the background off of this before I send it through? Because this is really where it's getting. But then I'd have to do it again. That node is a little heavy. Let's see what it does with this. Let's give it a try. Alright, we're still in fixed value. This is another important thing. It's probably the most important thing about maintaining the art style is using the fixed value for your seed. Because it's going to keep iterating this same seed, but you're going to be changing little things yourself to the art style, but it's going to maintain the art style through the seed. So, yeah, let's go back. Let's go ahead and save it real quick, and then let's run her. You know, making the plants and the trees was a lot easier. It just kind of understood creating the silhouettes better. Now, some of this could also have to do with the model I'm using. I'm using Deliberate. I've kind of liked it so far. I mean, it's pretty good at doing like Painterly style and understanding Painterly style, and I'm using a Painterly Laura on top, which is basically a styling node, a node that injects a specific style on top of your model, on top of your checkpoint loader model. There's a lot of different models in this thing. I don't fully understand the difference between every single one. I get general concepts as to what they are, but I don't always understand like what they are completely. Alright, and we got some goofy shit here. Yeah, we don't like any of that. So, let me see this. This is what I was refining the style with. I want to inject this style more than, maybe Euler was the best way to go. 0.9. And the denoise, oh, that's another thing. Well, actually, I don't want to create too many of those. Style transfer, concatenate, and then the control net is 1. Do a heavy control on that. Run her again. So this is kind of the workflow. Sometimes stuff can be really off, and then sometimes it can just start kind of lining up. There's a lot of things to take into account here. So I'm still working on optimizing this. This pipeline is like, I've created this over the last week and a half. So it's very new, and my knowledge of this software is still very new too. So all things to be taken into account. I'll wait on this next image, this next batch, and see what it comes up with. Alright, we're getting a little more Painterly style here, but very clean. Let me check this model again. I am running Deliberate, running full Painterly strength on the model. What is causing this to get off here? 5, and then 0.1. That might be better for it, really. but I need a way to blend that top in. And there are different depth nodes, but let's try to run this. Let's try, instead of saying boulder, let's do like rock. Large individual moss covered rock. Fantasy magical forest painterly. But instead of doing painterly here, I'm going to go back to the beginning. Painterly art style. Just I'm going to inject that again, but at the beginning, because this is based on the first prompt you put is read the most important, second, so on and so forth. It's hierarchical. So let's go ahead and save just to make sure before we go back to this. We'll go ahead and hit play. Go ahead and run it again. And so another thing that we're going to be doing here, and I'll go ahead and start setting this up since we got other things running too. It's crazy how this laptop is running OBS, recording, running Comfy, has Discord open, AI, or Adobe Illustrator now. We might crash, who knows? It'll be a lot of fun. We love crashing. Alright, so what I want is I'm going to make a new file here. I'm going to use, let's look up most common concept layout image size for game development. Just want to see what is most common. These things tend to resonate down the road. So 16:9 ratio, 1920 full HD being standard. All right, so we'll do web. So it is web then. Cool. And we're gonna create. Let's do like 10 artboards to start. We're gonna call this Alyria Concepting 01A. Okay, no. Fey Forest, because we're going to keep all of the Fey Forest stuff in here because these are going to get big. 300 DPI, RGB, and create. Alright, and so one of the things that we are going to do here, I'll have to open up this one as well. Open this up. I'm hoping I didn't lose. That'd be alright if I did. It wasn't that hard to make. Whoa, this is not it. That was like the original. So I think it's 2 then. Title, ignore. There we go. This is still old too. Holy shit. It doesn't even have the color stuff. So is it 3? I'll ignore. I need to get rid of some of these extra versions. 4. Just hope. Yeah, this is a little bit more there, but this doesn't have my color board. Branding prompts. Oh, here we go. No, that's not right either. 820. I don't have anything 26 on here. I need to make sure this is synced up. Oh, it's still syncing files. And let's hope that there's an Adobe Illustrator file somewhere in here. Alright. Well, I still got files to sync before I can even work on this then. Because I need that. Well, I mean, I can still work on it, but just get at it right away. Actually, instead of doing that, I'm going to, there we go, I need the rulers. So I got, oh man, it's almost perfectly the same. Doesn't line up. That's fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1920. So I'm going to line up here for information. There we go. And then we'll just do a little small effect right here. Go. We'll need it to be powers. So we'll start at 14. No, we'll start at 12. Let's hit the base everything. And then I always forget this. Scaling text. Golden run or for scaling text is coming as a golden ratio, 1.618. There we go. I don't know how I forget the times 1.618. Bing. Oh, actually, this up here, 618. Alright. So basically, I'm just creating a system for font scaling for this. I already have one for my style guide, but it's important because if we don't do this and we're going to have fonts, all kinds of different sizes all over the place, and it's not going to work. It would look ridiculous. It'd be very confusing. So just implementing some basic styling techniques. Alright, so now we need a duplicate, and what we're going to do instead here is this. Put them on each line. Alright, now we need 50, and we'll put it on this line, move them up. Now 50, this is probably going to be the size we'll use here. I mean 50 will probably be, but I am going to do one size bigger too, just to have at times 1.6, oops, 618. Boom, now we got 84. This will probably be like our largest, second largest, something like that. It depends on what we need. We have the scaling ratio to keep us where we need though, so. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this because I need to pull this down here. Let's go ahead and start creating a little bit of organization. Some organization in here. Do layer 1 as concept board to be determined 01A. And the 01A thing, I just use naming conventions by default. I try to keep that as the thing because as you go along and you're organizing things and everything, even if you don't already have something set up or determined specifically for a project that or a portion of a project, a sub-project you're working on for an overall project, you should still try to keep naming conventions and organization and things because it keeps things from getting messy later on down the road. Layer 2, I will name that format. And I will then select all these. So this is the concept board, and what I will do here is take this back, put it here, and then we need to find a good font. So I'm gonna just use my fonts for right now, just because we haven't determined a joint branding style for Iron Pillar Studios just yet. Although I already have a decent format for mine, there's not one determined for his, and we would need that to determine what fonts we would use in an interconnected kind of fashion. Whether we would use a different font, whatever. So let's see, this is one of them, Source Sans Playfair Display. So I'm going to use Playfair on this, and because that doesn't line up, I'll create another grid here. Designate an amount of space that is free. Actually, that wouldn't even be 50, would it? 50 would be, let's use an old tool. Let's see, 50. Or actually, I'm going to follow my font scale. So I'm going to do 12 times 1.618. And then I'm going to do times, actually, 19 pixels. Now let's do it again, 1.618. I'm just using the format that I'm using, the golden ratio of 1.618, to scale my text to also dictate spacing margins here. So I'll use this one. I don't want any angle, 31, so it's like our third iteration there. And now we have a line that we can use as a guide, and it thinks white and we need it to be black, so we'll use this. And then we can always go over here too and just set the to like 6 or something like that, just so it's a bit bigger, and then rotate it. Holding shift will allow me to snap it, and I can put it at the top here. You can see it's completely at the top, and now I'm just going to line up my text to that here. Perfect. Another way we can do this too, just to make it a little bit easier to see how the text all lines up to it, is by using this. Here we go. So now we're lined up that way, but I also want to line it up this way over here. So I'm going to create this one, and then I'm going to... Alright, so this is another reason why we use rulers, is because now I can touch this bottom piece down here perfectly on the ruler and have it line up in the proper placement I want it to. And I want it right on that line. Yeah, there we go. And so then these two, we just use them as like little tools, so we'll pull them off. And that's our starting point for a title for this card here. So this one, the first one is going to be, let's see, and then I really want to create a much larger space in here. So I'm going to actually do this. I'm going to create a duplicate of this. But instead of the current length, which is 31, we're going to multiply this by 1.618 again, and have a 50, and then we're also going to duplicate that even one more time and do it again. And I know this is very like archaic looking the way I'm doing this. I'm sure there's better methods for this. It's just, you know, like what I know already, so I'm doing this live. I haven't been improving my Illustrator workflow as much. Like, I've done a lot of work in it this past year, but I haven't done a lot of time to actually learn how to improve the workflow. Perfect. So now we have these 3 different scales. So this is another thing I wanted to do, was start the next. This is a fairy forest, but then the asset title would be next. So I'm gonna put this over here so it's out of the way. Gonna duplicate this asset, use the bottom of that, that works. And then another thing I want to do here is change all of these fonts to Playfair. That way I can take this and then hit I and then do this. Perfect. So now I can go and realign this with that to these lines here. We're going to create one more layer. We're going to put it under format, and we're going to call it utility, just to be able to hide these if we ever want to. Let's see here. Yes, all these should be good. The guides stay in the layers, which is kind of annoying. I wish there was another way to represent guides that didn't make it seem like it is a asset, because although they aren't as well, because they can just be, you know, hidden with hotkeys. And really I'm just frameworking these cards, because I'm going to create them once I actually have the images. And we'll go back over to Comfy and see what we got here. Seems like we kind of got more of the same, which may not be 100% true. Sometimes it will show you the wrong thing there. Nah, we got a lot of the same. So we do need to get rid of some of this, because I'm already getting rid of the background and I want to get rid of forest, trees, grass,
Background, environment, horizon. That's cool. What is this though? It's the same thing as this. It's reading it twice. Weird. Alright, I'm gonna go back in here. And I was doing this with the character and it worked well. Maybe I need a different... Alright, let's go back to our reference. We'll go to Arcane Ref and we'll change up our reference image. Get what sizes these were. This will probably work because it's bigger than what we're already using. And I'm gonna do average because concatenate did not do well. And maybe V only? Let's see. And then... Oh, no, I gotta change the seed first. And then once I get the seed, I'm going to iterate off of that. Okay, so that's probably part of what happened here. I wonder how much the seed actually weighs in on this. Like, does it have to do with having seeded a character before? Because that was the last thing I seeded. Just questioning things as I'm working. Let's go ahead and try to run. Hold on. Steps 30, 5.5. Denoise on 0.8. Let's try like 0.85. Turn that up just a bit. The control net strength, I'm going to do like 0.5 and see if it gives me a little bit more variability there. I think it's trying to like hard put it in this shape here, but maybe if I give it a little bit less edge, it'll be a little bit more free with what it defines as the outer edge, giving us less of this circular boulder shape. More like this or whatever else. Just an idea. Let's see how it works though. Run it! Alright, and then back to Illustrator. And we're gonna need a background over here as well. There we go. And we'll make this white. We could do a light gray. Kind of makes it pop a little there. This will be the first one. Alright, so another thing we're gonna do is go ahead and save this. Save on computer. And we will save it in the Elementum folder under reference. And then we're gonna make concept boards. Just to keep the naming convention similar. Go ahead back to Comfy. Take a look. We're getting more of the painterly style now. But because we took grass out of that, we're getting a lot more grassy or moss looking, which is cool. So what I'm going to do now is change the overall output 0.75. And then we're going to do like 0.75. We'll do K and V. And then we're going to go back to Keras. We'll do 0.95 on the denoise. We'll change this to 1024, 1024. 3 images, and then keep it as a randomized value for now. 25 steps. Let's do just 6. Save. Let's go back. Let's run it again. After this one, I'm going to go ahead and cut this stream off, and I'll be making more.